Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today I'm with an artist who just released, is this your debut?
Debut album.
Album. It's called Hindsight. I'm here with Brittany Danielle.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. So, did you grow up here in the Seattle area?
Yeah, the Pacific Northwest, Bellingham.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
You grew up in a college town then?
Yeah, I grew up in Bellingham for a little while and then came down to the Paulsbo area.
Okay.
Then went to school in Eastern Washington and then came back to Seattle. So
Interesting.
did an all over
Like
Washington life tour.
after growing up in Bellingham, you probably just didn't want to go to school there then too? That'd be kind of...
I thought about it, but the music program wasn't what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I had met Gerald Berthium through my adjudication process in high school, and I really wanted to study with him, and he was at Washington State University.
Cool.
I didn't really care about the school specifically. I just wanted to study with Jerry.
Nice. So who is Jerry? I don't know if I know.
Gerald Berthium he's a
Great last name.
He's a classical pianist. He's really good. He's now retired, I believe, but he started being a teacher, I believe, at Washington State University, and then was the music director for a little while in my studies with him, and then eventually retired sometime after I graduated. So you can look him up. He's got a lot of YouTubes and stuff.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he's a really amazing pianist.
Shout out Jerry.
Shout out Dr. B.
Do you still stay in contact with him at all?
He actually just got on Facebook, which I thought I was like, oh man, two of my piano teachers got on Facebook within probably a week of each other, and I was like, ooh, I should probably not be posting. I should go practice. I felt really pressured all of a sudden. I do email with him every once in a while. Yeah.
There we go. So you're classically trained in piano?
Yes. Yeah.
Ooh, how did that start?
It started around 7 or 8.
Okay.
We got a piano from our neighbors. They were moving, and I had expressed interest in playing piano. My sister also had expressed interest, so we both started at the same time. And yeah, I just kind of went on from there. My teacher at the time, Debbie Florian, shout out to Debbie.
Shout out Debbie.
She was a classical teacher, so I learned classical through her, and then eventually decided I wanted to continue with piano through my life. And in high school, college, I started doing more jazz and blues, and then continued more on the jazz blues writing music kind of trajectory,
right? Because
classical has its limits. There's a ceiling to that.
So what are the different types of piano, like when it comes to genre? So there's classical piano, and then what are I don't know much about piano, to be honest with you.
There's jazz, there's funk, and then it extends into the keyboard region where you're playing on synthesizers or organs, and it is the same-ish skill, I would say, that I can play an organ,
right? But
I wouldn't say I'm an organist. There's a different
organist, that's a good word.
Yeah, there's a different technique that's involved, and I took a couple of classes in organ and keyboards, and synthesizers are also another different it's like a different animal altogether. So yes, I know how to play on the black and whites, but it's not always the same. It takes different skills.
So what if your neighbor moved? You said they moved, right? And that's what I got. So what if they moved and gave you like a trumpet? Do you think you would have stuck with a trumpet instead, or do you think there was something about the piano in general?
There was something about the piano. It was specifically, it was the Ray Charles Pepsi commercials that I was like, I want to do that. What that guy's doing. He looks so cool in his sunglasses, and he's got like this cool vibe. And so that's what I wanted. Shout out to Pepsi, I guess.
Yeah, we're doing all the shout outs. So you get the piano, but what about classical? Like, is that like when most people start playing piano, is it automatically classical, or can you start in funk? Or
you can start in funk. I would say that classical is kind of the normal trajectory because it's already planned out and written.
Fair. With
funk and jazz and blues, there takes a different technique of like understanding chord structure and understanding how to work within that, because you're going to be doing solos and improv.
Right.
So there's a lot more theory involved.
It's more feel, maybe.
Yeah. So classical is a trajectory for people who read like music. So you're reading music, you're learning from method books or whatever, and then you get to a point where you're continuing to read music, and mostly you have classical stuff.
So you're pretty square then if you just do classical music?
I think it's pretty square.
Like rigid, I guess?
Yeah. There's a little bit of like a battle between like the blues and jazz versus classical.
Right.
And it's really funny because I think for me, they go really well hand in hand because it rounds off a lot of things. So for classical, it was good to be able to read, like I can read music, I can sight read. That's a great skill to have. But I didn't necessarily understand chord structures and the reasons why we needed to know those things. So then when I got to jazz and blues and improv and funk, I was like, oh, now I understand why I've been doing scales all my life.
Right.
Because now I understand how that fits together versus just reading it off of a page.
Yeah, I understand that a little bit. I did clarinet for 7 years, so I understand how to read music and like improv a little bit. I'd say at least 90% of my guests don't know how to read music, so that's pretty interesting that you know how to read it and like you went to school for it. You said
yes, yeah.
So that's pretty. What's your opinions on like artists not having to like go to school for music or like not even knowing how to read music? Even like guitarists, some of them don't even know they know the chords maybe, but they couldn't sit down and read down.
Sure, yeah. I have students that I've taught that never really wanted to read music, but it was really important for them to understand that chord structure and how to read at least lead sheets so that they knew what was going on.
Right.
And having a basic understanding of where things are on the piano, whether you can sight read immediately or you can kind of figure it out by spacing and reading the spaces, it's definitely a skill to have in your pocket, but I don't think that it is a requirement in order to play music. You know?
What about like longevity? Maybe like, because that's a lot of things to like memorize. So what if like you're like in your 60s or something and you're still playing music and you don't know how to read and you kind of forget, versus if you're able to like just look at a sheet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that there's some studies there are for sure studies about people who play piano and dementia and how it prevents dementia. So it's along the same lines as my grandma used to do crossword puzzles.
Yeah.
So I think that the reading and understanding of that is somewhere. I'm not a scientist, but there is studies about reading music and being able to sight read and play that work the brain the same way as a crossword puzzle does.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting, but honestly, for some people, they just need to know kind of where things are. Like if you know where all the C's are on the staff, then you can wiggle your way around. You know?
But like if you want to play, I guess that would fall under classical. If you like want to play like in a symphony or something, you'd obviously like have to
definitely need to know how to read music. Yeah. And as a pianist, sight reading is really important for jobs too. So like I play at churches. Sometimes I pick up substitute jobs and sometimes I don't know the music and I can just play it, make it up sort of because I can sight read. And so that's a really great skill to have for jobs.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Also, maybe if you like I've been recently getting into DJing.
Yeah.
And with that, I can I have all my own gear. I know how to DJ. So I can I just had a guest on last weekend and they needed a DJ last minute and I was able to do that. So cool. If you're able to read music and then a band's like, oh, we need someone to play the piano.
Yeah.
Exactly how we have it set up. They could just give you the sheet music. Or I don't know. Do bands have sheet music on stage?
Not always. No. There's a lot of ear training that's involved, or like lead sheets or charts or something.
Right.
So that's why it's important to me to be able to have both of those skills.
Right.
So when I was teaching, I wanted to make sure that my students also had both skills. Whether they leaned into one or the other, it didn't really matter. But to be able to sort of figure stuff out because they knew how it worked was really important. I think that's important for a lot of people because there was this jazz pianist in college who never read music. He was phenomenal. He was the most amazing pianist I've probably ever met, but he couldn't read. Wow. And so it limited him on certain jobs. He had a great ear, so he could figure it out. But when you hand him some sheet music, he was just like, I don't know how to do that. So he ended up working with a teacher who made sure that he knew how to do it, but whether he was proficient in it or not didn't really matter. Just knowing how to figure it out at some point.
That construction noise is insane, by the way. I don't know if it's going to be picked up by mics. But yeah, we're at my new studio, everyone, by the way. You're the first. I had Mira Craft and I Am Shamel and Matt from MLB on.
Okay.
To do like a group thing when they got back from London, but the studio was not in the best of shape. And that was like almost April. So
oh, yeah.
2 months ago. So, but now we're officially about to open. So you're the first guest. That's something to be proud of.
I'm very proud.
So
put a little badge on my
hell
jacket.
Yeah. So you're talking about, you said your grandma did, what did you say? Puzzles?
Crossword puzzles.
Yeah. Have you ever played Wordle?
I did. I started playing Wordle a little bit, but, I kind of got bored with the fact that it was limited to 5 letters.
Yeah.
So I think my first word was always like stage or stare.
Right.
To try to get the STR and then an A and an E or whatever. And then I kind of was just like...
Oh, by like the third... Because it's like how many there's like... So Wordle's like a thing with the New York Times.
Yeah.
And it's like a word of a day and it gives you like 6 guesses. And if you get some of the letters right, then like it stays in the jigsaw box or whatever.
Yeah, because it's green if it's in the right spot, the right letter in the right spot, and then yellow if it's the right letter but not in the right spot.
Yeah.
And then...
And gray if you fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get the Wordle sponsorship, right?
I didn't know what it was for a long time. I was like, what are these people posting these weird squares on their stories and stuff? And then I figured it out. But I thought it was an app.
Yeah.
So I had downloaded like 3 or 4 different apps. And paid for like 2 of them.
Oh no.
And I didn't know that it was just online.
Yeah.
And one of my friends like gave me the skinny on it. He was like, oh, it's if you know, you know. And I was like, really? Because I feel like a lot more people know. Maybe I'm just not following.
It is kind of creepy though, because like I won't play it I also get too competitive sometimes. So like I get almost anxious when I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm 3 boxes and still don't have it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give up for the day instead of like getting like a wrong for that, like an X, I guess, for that day.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I don't finish it, then I didn't really lose. Maybe I just got busy or something. Who knows, right? But like I'll go like a week or 2 without playing it, but it still has like my record. So that's kind of crazy. That's like online, saved somewhere. That
the algorithm has you.
Yeah, that's fucking craziness. So,
yeah, I would get really frustrated, especially if there was a Y or something in it, and I'm like, how is the Y being used? Is it a vowel? And I would get frustrated and I would go look it up.
Yeah. Cheater.
I know.
Oh my gosh. So do you still teach, or like you kind of used it in the past tense?
Yeah. So when the album started coming to fruition, I decided I didn't want to teach anymore. So I've been teaching for 22 years or something. I taught all the way through high school and college, and I've had students grow up and go on and do their own thing, and I have a couple students who have graduated college already. Like, it's been part of my life for a very long time.
Right.
And as the album started being finalized, it was starting to become like the summertime area. And I really looked at teaching and where I was in this performance aspect of my life. And I decided to retire. Yeah, I retired. So as soon as summer started coming up, we usually take a break. And I just told them, we've been doing 2 years on Zoom, and
oh, that must have been sucky, huh?
It sucked. It worked,
right?
But it was really hard for everybody. And I just decided, with driving, I used to drive to their houses, and with the Zoom situation and them being able to access other piano teachers through the Zoom situation,
competition.
There was just not competition, that's maybe, but also just I could give them to other people that I trusted who were out of state. So I just said, I'm going to pursue this full time, and the performance aspect and booking and all these other things that I had to be online and emailing for was taking a toll on the other online Zoom meetings that I was constantly on. Right. So I just decided it was time.
So you didn't leave anyone hanging? You didn't just like fire someone, like they all got...
I gave them to other teachers. Yeah.
Okay.
I had them interview with other teachers, and kind of knowing these other teachers personally, kind of knew who would fit the best. And some decided to not return to piano, but not that many. It was like 2 or 3.
Right. So you grew up in Bellingham and then you moved to Paulsbo. How old were you when you lived in Paulsbo?
6 or 7.
Oh, so you grew up in Paulsbo then?
Yeah, I have family that is in Bellingham, so it was very much in between situation. Like my grandparents were living in Bellingham, my cousins on both sides of my family were in Bellingham, so I would say I never really left Bellingham.
Got it.
I didn't want to move, that's for sure.
Right.
It was a big deal because I had all these friends I had grown up with, and pen pals only go so far.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there was a lot of in between visiting back and forth.
And explain where Paulsbo is for people in Seattle who might not know, or just people in general.
Sure. Paulsbo, Washington is a little Scandinavian town, and it's right tucked inside the little peninsula area. It's on the Puget Sound?
I guess. I don't know. I don't know geography that well, to be honest.
It's about 30 minutes away from Kingston, where you can take the Kingston ferry across, and about 45 minutes away from Bainbridge Island. You could take the Bainbridge Island ferry to Seattle. For those of you who don't know what ferries are,
they're magical creatures that float in or boats, either one.
Yeah, whichever.
And I heard so you can like go crabbing too at like in Paulsbo.
Yeah,
that's pretty neat.
Yeah, and there's like shellfish and gooey ducks and stuff.
I want to know how can people be allergic to shellfish if they like, how is that? Because that's just nature. Like, how do you? I still don't really understand how allergies work that well, to be honest with you.
Me either, but I have them.
So like, how can you just be allergic to like an animal like that that's underwater? Like is that so? Like, I guess I kind of understand dogs a little bit or whatever.
Dander, like, yeah. I don't know. Again, not a scientist here, but it's funny because I have a friend who's allergic to salmon.
Oh.
But she can eat other fish.
Okay. That's wild.
Yeah, so
I'm guessing they didn't start with salmon then, because if the first fish I ate I was allergic to, I probably wouldn't want to try other. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I think she kind of avoids all fish just in case, but according to her and her doctor, she's allergic to salmon. You could take allergy tests. Have you seen those?
Yeah, do they just rub salmon? I'm just kidding.
Just rub salmon on her and just leave it on for 4 days. Don't shower.
They do like pricks or something? I don't really know.
Yeah, I've seen some where it's like all down a person's back. And there's just like 100 and something pricks all down their back. You keep this like cellophane on your back so that it I haven't done one yet, but
is that a bucket list of yours?
I am allergic to grass.
Oh yeah. Really
bad. And some type of pollen in like the early springtime.
Okay.
But
what about this dogwood stuff? Is it dogwood? No, it's cottonwood.
Cottonwood.
I don't know why I said dogwood.
Dogwood is a tree.
Okay.
But cottonwood is that one that looks like it's snowing everywhere.
Yeah. It's gross when it gets in the puddles too.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It gets all up in your car fans and stuff.
But that's not pollen.
Yeah.
It is pollen?
I mean, it's
But it's a seed. But pollen's a seed though.
Mm-hmm.
No, pollen's what the bees eat.
Pollen is
or whatever they grab from.
Okay, can I cuss on this?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Pollen is the jizz of the trees, basically. So it's like
sap, or sap's just blood of a tree.
Blood. So basically, like every plant has an egg.
Okay.
And then the pollen is the fertilizer of the egg.
And why do bees? So bees just roll around in jizz?
In trees, yeah.
Oh.
And then they make honey. Then they vomit it up and then we eat it.
Damn. I don't know if I want honey anymore.
But that's why local honey helps with allergies. Because it's if you eat local honey, it helps you with like dealing with the local allergies to the pollen.
Oh, maybe wow.
Yeah. So don't buy honey from the store. Buy it from the roadside honey people.
Oh. You've done that?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever bought
going to like the Snoqualmie area to go hiking, and there's always like the cherries on the side of the road.
Yeah, I'm allergic to those.
Oh no.
Oh, I'm actually not allergic. I'm allergic to the pollen in the cherries. I just realized because I'm allergic to cherries, almonds, nectarines, peaches.
Summertime
apples.
Fun. You're allergic to summer?
Yeah, but it's a pollen. And I looked it up because I can have it like if it's a roasted almond, I can have it, or if it's a cooked apple or like cherry pie.
Oh.
And it's because it gets cooked out if you actually cook those nuts or fruits. I learned about it probably like 5 months ago because I would just say I'm allergic to cherries, but I'm allergic to the pollen in the cherries, which is a little cooler. I don't know if it's cool, but
cherries are life, man.
Really?
Yeah, they're so good.
But like my gums get all numb.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
Like I enjoy the first one, and then after the second one, I'm like, oh fuck.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
EpiPinch.
Oh gosh. So you graduated from Paulsbo then?
No. Okay. So I was homeschooled.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was gonna go to school in Bellingham, but then we moved, and I went to kindergarten in Kitsap County. The kindergarten actually doesn't exist anymore.
Oh no.
It got torn down
because of COVID or just life?
No, I don't actually know why.
I wonder if schools got shut down.
Kind of in a janky area. There were like 3 or 4 fences around the playground, and we were told not to talk to the strangers on the other side of the fence. Yeah, or drug dealers. I have no idea.
Drug dealers to 5-year-olds?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
It's a rough go.
Yeah. So it got torn down, and I got homeschooled first grade through whatever 15 is.
High school?
Yeah. Then I went to the local college and got my 2-year degree.
At like 17?
Yeah, 16.
Oh.
Yeah, I was 16.
Wow.
Went to Olympic College. Go Trojans, I think. And then then I got my 2-year degree, and then I transferred to Washington State University.
Wow. That's kind of, so do you like that you were homeschooled, or is that like really like weird? Maybe.
I think I was probably weird.
Yeah, I can see it.
I've acclimated a little, but there's still I mean, I'd like to think that, but I think being homeschooled definitely helped with my exploration of music because I had my education, but then I had a lot more time on my hands.
Right. Were you like a crazy pianist? Like, did you play like 6 hours a day or something?
Yeah.
Wow.
I played piano so hard that my fingers have bled before.
Oh gosh.
I don't do that anymore.
Do you get like arthritis after a while?
Oh, I hope not.
Pull your hands out. You're like,
I hope not. Yeah, I get cortisol shots in my hands.
Really?
Not now. Not yet. I just recently broke my finger.
Oh.
And it's out of a cast finally, but
let's show it to the camera.
I'm kind of
what? From playing the piano?
No. I wish it was cool like that. You should see the other guy. No, it was a table. A table got me, an RV table.
Oh.
And it crushed my joint.
Did it like go upwards or something, or like fold?
Yeah, it folded out and caught me. And it crushed my nail and crushed my my joint.
Jeez.
So I'm worried about the arthritis in there eventually, but
do you get like so we can move all your hands?
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay.
We'll see.
There we go.
We'll see.
So what did you like start working like right after you graduated from college? And then was it like as in music, or what was that like? Look at these
I kept teaching, but I started bartending because I was a little bit burnt out, and it's really intense, especially with the way that it's judged and graded. It's really, I have beef with the way that art is put in the academic system. I think
they at least do it right compared to like you can have like a football coach who's just like fat and like has never actually played football and
right,
just coaching it, but like
maybe the teachers definitely are still pianists, and at WASI they're required to do recitals.
Okay, so
they're still in their field, but I think that the grading on the system is a little bit I disagree with it.
Right.
Because it's one thing to be a painter, right? And you want to learn like how to work with acrylics or watercolors. And so you learn how to do that. But at some point you've got to make your own art. So that's kind of where the rubber meets the road for me in this disagreement that I have with academics is, I need to learn how to do the Mozart thing and the Beethoven thing and like the Joplin thing. But at some point, how do I take all of that and make it mine?
It's the rigid thing you're talking about.
Yeah. Versus keeping it in this box of like, Beethoven would never do that. And then you're like, yeah, have you talked to him? Because I'm pretty sure he's dead. So like, are you sure?
Right.
So you get graded on that system. And it's weird because all you really can do is research the history that we have on these people. And sometimes it's like their diaries or certain stories or whatever. And it's not a complete look at them. There's no way. So at some point it's just your interpretation of what you think Chopin felt during that day or whatever.
Why isn't it updated though?
Why is the education system not updated? Yeah. So there's a thing about I was talking to another person about this recently, about misogyny and racism completely just integrated in that system too, because you're not studying Black artists through the classical system, and you're not studying women most of the time.
Right. Just guys with wigs and
old dead white guys is what I say. So that kind of limits you. There were other people writing in that classical era.
Yeah.
But the people that we hold as the greats are old dead white guys.
Damn. But why don't we I guess Kenny G, he probably teaches classes or something, right? So like there's no like class that teaches what Kenny G did. I don't know. I'm just thinking of a random
I mean, then there's
artist I think of.
That's when you branch out to pop or
that's true.
Pop history, music history in general, and there's jazz history.
So that's Kenny G's more pop, I guess.
Yeah, jazz.
I guess that's jazz too.
Jazz.
Yeah, I guess I need to do more research on that type of stuff. So let's talk about Hindsight real quick.
Sure.
So how did that come to fruition?
I had 4 songs originally. It was Nothing, Fondly, Liquid Drugs. I lied. 3 songs. I had 3 songs originally. And I, during pandemic, wanted to just do an EP and put together an EP. And during that venture with my band, I put together a Facebook group for singer-songwriters to just continue creating. And while recording my EP, it turned into an LP. So there were 7 more songs within like that 6 months that came out of that song group. And also while working with the band and finally being back in that community, I was all these things came rolling out. So Hindsight, the title track, was, I decided to name the album Hindsight because the song Hindsight was more like my pandemic song.
Okay.
And like an introspective of like the world being so quiet, but other things being so loud, like social justice matters and why is rent so expensive, and
why is gas so expensive?
Why is gas so expensive? All these things that pop up as actually important that get buried in like the regular hustle and bustle of just surviving life, work-life balance. So, that's how I ended up naming the album.
Well, you got a fan here. I like the music you released so far.
Yay, thank you.
So why the wait for this to be like your first project? You feel like you just had to experience more life? And
I was in a bunch of other bands for a long time. I played in some jazz bands and big band, and I was doing a lot of keyboard work and vocal work in other bands and other projects. And I was writing slowly on the side, but I didn't think that I had anything I really wanted to write about.
Right.
Which is never true. But I think I was so bogged down with other people's work that I didn't have the space for it in my brain. So once pandemic hit and the band that I was in kind of dissolved because the lead singer moved to San Diego, and then none of us could see each other. Right. And I was like, let me just go through my notebooks and see what I've got. And started looking at some of the lyrics, and I was thinking, one was, good idea, Britt, but weird way to write that. And so I kind of rewrote a lot of ideas that I had and put it to music.
Yeah, the pandemic gave us a lot of time to like sort through things and make things actually happen.
Totally.
So,
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I got to discover what I wanted to say and what my sound was. I think that was another thing holding me back. I was like, what's my sound? What do I sound like?
Right. So you have to come back on the podcast, brother. You're a fun talk. You're a fun chat. I don't know, a fun conversation.
Yeah.
Something. What do you say to someone who's a good talker? Just you're a fun hang, I guess.
Great vibes.
Great vibes, dog. All right. We're hip. We're cool.
Yeah.
So what is some advice that you have for up and coming artists, creators, influencers?
I would say don't stop. But also this is not my advice, actually. This is from Alicia Keys. Write that terrible song and finish it. Because if you don't finish that terrible song, it will show up in your good song. Like, you got to finish the projects. Even if it sucks, follow it all the way through. And then you will get that out of you and make space for the next thing.
Hell yeah. What is the easiest way for people to reach you?
Best way is Instagram, Brittany Danielle Music. And that's also my Bandcamp.
Hell yeah. And the project is out now. We're going to release this on Friday. The project is out now. Stream it everywhere or
everywhere. Bandcamp. It's on Amazon Music, iTunes, if iTunes still exists, Apple Music,
I guess.
And all the streaming services.
There we go. Hell yeah. Well, this has been the NAST podcast with
Brittany Danielle. Thanks for having me.
And we did it.